Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. This time, we're taking a closer look at Iddah in Islam.
Sounds fascinating.
It is. And I have to say, the questions you sent in are really intriguing. Like this one about where Iddah has to be observed.
Okay.
Like if a woman's husband mainly lived with his second wife, could she, the first wife, observe her Iddah at that second wife's house?
I see. Yeah, that's a question that gets right to the core of what Iddah aims for.
Yeah.
And from the sources you sent, it seems the answer is no.
So she couldn't?
No, the first wife would need to observe Iddah in her own home.
Even if the husband, mostly lives somewhere else?
Exactly.
Huh. So it's more about the woman's own space.
Yeah, the emphasis is on her having her own designated space.
During this kind of, I guess, transitional time.
Precisely. It's about personal autonomy and a sense of security,
At a time that could be, pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
It's almost like a...
Sort of a protective measure, in a way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And this concept of a protected space, it's reinforced right in the Quran.
Oh, really?
Surah Al-Talaq, the first verse, specifically says you can't banish a woman from her home during her Iddah.
No banishing. So that means...
Well, in the Tafsir Ahmadiyya,
which is...
it's a really well-known Quranic exegesis.
Right.
It makes it clear that women's homes means where they actually live.
So it's not just like a general rule. It's very specific.
Yes, there's a definite directive to respect that space.
Not just a custom. It's coming straight from Scripture.
Right. And it shows how much Islam prioritizes the well-being and dignity of women during this time.
I'm seeing that for sure. Wow. Okay, so another one that I was really curious about.
Oh, yeah.
This question about how you're supposed to look during Iddah. Like, can you wear glass bangles?
That's a good one. It seems like a small thing.
Right.
But it's not just about how things look.
Right.
It gets into the whole idea of mourning.
Okay.
And how you express that outwardly in Islam.
I see.
So in this case, those glass bangles, they're considered adornment. So they're not allowed.
During Iddah?
During Iddah after a husband's death, yeah.
So your outward appearance needs to reflect?
Your inner state, exactly.
You're mourning. So you shouldn't be...
beautifying yourself. Islam emphasizes simplicity during mourning, That inward focus lets a woman process everything without being distracted by outward appearances.
It's interesting how different cultures have those outward...
symbols of grief.
Yeah, symbols. Yeah, like in some places, everyone wears black.
Oh.
Or they cover it mirrors, things like that.
It's fascinating, right?
It is. I mean, the ways people express it might be different.
Yeah.
But that need to show your grief, to deal with loss.
That seems to be universal.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a shared human experience.
Okay, so I have one more question, and I have to ask about it.
Oh.
What is it?
Because it just, really got me thinking.
Okay.
So there's this 80-year-old woman, and she's a widow, right?
Okay.
And she wants to go to her nephew's wedding, but her son's saying she can't because she's in Iddah.
I see.
But she's 80, So is that really...
Yeah, this is where the details of Iddah really matter.
What do you mean?
Well, the rules are different depending on why you're observing Iddah.
Oh, thank you.
Is it after a divorce or after a husband passed away?
Gotcha.
This woman, she's a widow.
Right.
So that changes things.
So it's not the same as if she'd gotten divorced.
Exactly. There's a big difference there.
Interesting.
The stricter rules, like not leaving the house.
Yeah.
Those are mainly for women who are divorced.
Oh, okay.
Widows have more flexibility.
Flexibility.
Especially when they're older.
Like this 80-year-old.
Yeah, she's considered Isa.
Isa.
It means she's past the age of having children.
Oh, I see. And so because of that, well, a lot of scholars even say Isa, women don't have to observe Iddah at all.
Wait, really? So maybe she doesn't even need to do this?
It's possible, yeah.
Wow, her son might be totally off base here.
He could be, or maybe just misinformed.
Maybe getting mixed up with cultural stuff instead of the actual rulings.
It happens a lot, unfortunately. Yeah. But even for those who say she should observe Iddah, it's not like she's got to stay home all the time.
Really?
The restrictions are way lighter.
Oh, so she could go to the wedding.
I'd say so, yeah.
This is really making me rethink things.
It's more nuanced than people realize.
It's not black and white at all, huh?
Not at all. And that just shows why it's so important.
Yeah.
To get guidance from scholars who really know their stuff.
When you have a specific situation.
Exactly. Because there's so many factors.
Like where you observe it, what you wear.
Your age, whether you're a widow or divorced.
Yeah. All these things matter.
It's not one size fits all.
Definitely not. I'm starting to see that.
And, we're just scratching the surface here. There's a lot more to this topic than meets the eye.
Okay, well, I am definitely ready to dig deeper.
Me too. It's fascinating.
But I think we should probably take a little break first, just to kind of process all this.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll be back in a bit to continue this deep dive into the world of Iddah, so stick around.
We'll have a lot more to uncover.
We're back, and wow, my mind is still, spinning from all that.
It's a lot to take in, right?
It is. I mean, I thought I knew a bit about Iddah, but
there's so much more to it than just the basic rules.
Exactly. And you were saying how those nuances, they're really key to understanding why Iddah exists in the first place.
Right. It's not about blindly following a bunch of rules.
No.
It's about giving women this time, this space to really process what can be some of the toughest transitions in life.
You mentioned that before, how it's more than just restrictions.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know, built-in self-care in a way.
I like that. Built-in self-care.
Right. Like it's part of Islamic tradition to take care of yourself in this way.
Exactly. Whether it's losing your spouse or a marriage ending, these are huge life events.
Yeah.
They require healing, emotional, and often spiritual.
And Iddah provides that framework.
It does. It's a designated time for that healing to happen.
Which is so interesting because nowadays, it feels like there's this pressure to just, get over things quickly.
Move on, everyone says.
Exactly. But Iddah is acknowledging that these things take time.
It does. It pushes back against that fast-paced culture we live in.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredibly valuable.
I agree. It's like saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
Right. You don't have to pretend everything's fine.
You're not expected to just, snap back to normal.
Exactly. Grief takes time. Reflection takes time.
Adjusting takes time.
All of it. And you can't rush it.
It almost, takes the pressure off,
It does. It normalizes the grieving process.
Lets women really feel their emotions.
Authentically, without those external pressures.
That can be really empowering, I bet.
I think so, too.
It also makes me think about the social side of things.
Oh, how so?
If a woman's community knows she's in Iddah, does that change how they treat her? How they interact?
It should, ideally.
In what way?
Well, in a community that's supportive, a woman observing Iddah wouldn't be isolated.
Right, not shut away.
No, but her need for space would be respected.
Okay.
And at the same time, she'd have people around her.
People to help out.
Yeah, practical help, emotional support.
So it's a balance.
Exactly, respecting her privacy, but being there for her.
Wow, that's really beautiful, actually.
It speaks to that core value in Islam community, taking care of each other.
Especially when someone's going through something tough.
Exactly, it's a very real expression of empathy.
I love that it's not just about individual practice.
Right.
It's about how we connect and how we care for each other.
That's what faith is all about at its core.
This is making me see Iddah in a whole new light.
It's powerful stuff.
We've gone from those specific rules
to a much wider view of the purpose behind it.
Exactly. I'm curious, what are some other aspects
there's so many
that you find particularly interesting, like things we haven't really touched on yet?
One thing that often gets overlooked
is
the potential for spiritual growth during Iddah.
Oh, interesting.
This time for introspection.
Yeah.
It can be a chance to really strengthen that connection with God.
To reflect on life, on your journey.
To search for deeper meaning.
So it's not just about dealing with the past.
No, it's also about preparing for the future.
Setting yourself up for what's next.
It's a time for renewal, spiritual renewal.
Huh. I like that.
A chance to reevaluate what's important to you.
And what you want moving forward.
Precisely.
The more we talk about this,
the
more I realize how, progressive Iddah is.
Progressive? How so?
Well, it's rooted in tradition, sure. But it's also really forward-thinking in how it deals with women's experiences.
I see what you mean.
Offering this space for growth, emotional, social, spiritual, recognizing that women aren't all the same. They have different needs.
It's a nuanced approach.
It really is. And it challenges some of those stereotypes people have about
Islam, about Islamic practices.
Exactly. We tend to oversimplify things, put them in boxes.
But Iddah shows that even ancient traditions can be incredibly complex, full of wisdom.
And they can still be relevant to our lives today.
Absolutely.
Before we get too philosophical, though, there's one thing I want to circle back to.
Okay.
We talked about how the rules are different for widows and divorcees.
Right.
You explain that a bit more. What are the key differences there?
Sure. So Both experiences are big changes.
Yeah, both involve loss in a way.
Exactly, and they both require adjustment.
But the way that happens is different.
For a widow, Iddah is mainly about mourning, remembering.
Okay.
It's focused on honoring her deceased husband.
Processing that grief.
Yeah, dealing with that loss.
And for divorcee.
It's more about untangling yourself from that past life and getting ready for a new chapter.
So there might be different emotions involved.
Definitely. Maybe hurt, anger, disappointment.
And need to become independent again.
Exactly. Finding your footing on your own.
So the restrictions, like not leaving the house.
Yeah.
That could be a way to protect her during that time.
Well, she's vulnerable emotionally.
Like a safe space to sort things out.
And it also creates a clean break from the relationship.
Yeah.
No ambiguity, no lingering attachments.
That's important.
It lets both people move on.
In a way that's healthy and respectful.
With dignity. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of thoughtfulness in all of this.
It's not just about imposing rules.
Right. It's about support.
Offering a structure for women to go through these transitions.
With grace and with dignity.
Exactly. I think that's key.
This whole conversation has been eye-opening, honestly.
Me too. It's been fascinating to explore.
Iddah is more than I ever realized.
It's a reminder that even ancient traditions
can have these deep insights into human emotions, experiences.
And those insights are still relevant today.
Absolutely, regardless of our background.
Okay, I think we need to take a short break to let all this sink in.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into Iddah with some final thoughts.
Looking forward to it.
And we are back. And I gotta say, this whole deep dive into Iddah has really got me thinking.
It's a thought-provoking topic, for sure.
It is. I mean, I came into this with kind of a basic understanding, you know?
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing it as like, wow, incredibly thoughtful.
It is. Iddah is.
Almost radical, in a way.
Radical. How so?
In how it supports women, you know?
Yeah, it's, like you said before, it's simple but powerful.
Acknowledging that healing takes time, that you need space.
And that women deserve that space without being judged.
Absolutely. And it's not just on the woman herself, right?
No, it's a community effort.
The community steps up, recognizes that need for support.
Exactly. It's shared responsibility.
Like we all go through tough times.
And we're not meant to go through them alone.
Makes you wonder, do we have something like this in our own society?
Like a secular version of Iddah.
Yeah, I mean, we have bereavement leave.
When someone passes away.
Well, what about for divorce or other big life changes?
There's not really a formal equivalent, is there?
Maybe that's something we can learn from, even if we don't adopt the exact practices.
The principles behind it are valuable, for sure.
Offering support, giving space, allowing time to heal.
And the power of ritual, you know?
Oh, right, like Iddah having those specific guidelines.
It creates a structure.
But that structure also gives you freedom.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. Like it sets boundaries, but within those boundaries.
You have the freedom to grieve, to reflect, to rebuild.
Wow. Yeah, it's a safe haven, in a way.
A place to process everything and come out stronger on the other side.
We've talked about the rules, the different situations.
The nuances.
But ultimately, for me, Iddah is about...
What do you think it's about?
Compassion, you know? It's about wisdom, understanding human emotions.
Deeply understanding them.
Yeah, and that even ancient traditions...
can have these timeless truths to teach us.
Things that still apply to our lives today.
I think that's a great takeaway.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
Really opened my eyes to a whole new perspective on Iddah.
Glad to hear it.
And to our listener, we hope this has given you a lot to think about.
And maybe even spark some new questions.
Keep exploring, keep learning. There's always more to discover.
That's the beauty of it.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time,